Education is the foundation and bedrock for what we need for the future growth of our economy and our state. If we don't have a solid foundation of kids being well educated and prepared for the jobs of the future, all of the desires that we have for the growth and robust communities that we all want across Dallas and across the state will be for naught.
The biggest opportunities to improve student outcomes are those that actually people don't talk about very much. Improve students' lives and you will improve the student outcomes.
The difference between the opportunities that avail themselves to the top third economically in our area, most of them get a college degree. It's expected or beyond. The bottom third, only about 10% of them go on to get a bachelor's degree in today's world. Closing that gap is one of the most important issues facing Dallas-Fort Worth. Otherwise, you're going to have a society of haves and have-nots.
I think the most critical education issue that'll face Texas in the next decade is dealing with the students who are coming to us from economically challenging lives. We're not prepared for that. We don't even understand the questions to ask to find the right answers.
Kids are told that education is the highest priority, but then you show them in every physical way that it's not a priority, because every chance that they get, it seems like they cut budget for education, and they hear the same cliche things, work hard, stay in school, things like that. But at the same time, they see how us staying in school and the schools that we're in aren't equal. And so the formulas that they're presented with don't really seem obtainable.
You have to prioritize social emotional health in order for kids to be able to plug in and do their best learning. It's a both and, not an either or. And for kids who are dealing with toxic stress of poverty or trauma, it can precede their capacity to plug in academically. By that I mean if children are in fight, flight, or freeze mode, it does not matter the quality of instruction, they are not going to learn.
There are so many studies that absolutely show what happens with young people and their ability to be productive citizens. And it absolutely starts with early childhood education.
We know that 90% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 5, and so a lot of the inequities that we see in education, in economic opportunities, and life outcomes in general start in those first 5 years.
How do we work with parents of new babies and make sure they have the supports and resources they need, all the way up into ensuring every kid has the best possible experience through 3rd grade.
One of the opportunities is the early care in education, the partnering with parents, involving the community in the total education of children so that it's a whole life lesson and not just academics.
I am a product of Dallas's 3-year-old program many years ago. I started at 3 and it changed my life. I got an early start and I was focused and driven, and it made all the difference. And so for parents, early childhood is the gateway to a different outcome. It's the gateway to learning. It's the beginning. It's if you allowed a child to have a head start in front of everybody else and they're running this race of education, early childhood gives them that extra lap so that they're ahead in the race.
65% of the neighborhoods in Dallas County don't have the sufficient supply for early childhood seats for children 0 to 3. And so 14,000 children are left without quality seats. And so we need to figure out how to reconcile that for parents in our community so that children have access to quality opportunities.
If we care about the economy in the Dallas area, we've really got to think about our babies and toddlers. And while that sounds counterintuitive, qualified adults can't fill the 46,000 middle-income jobs, in great part because they can't find quality early learning situations for their children.
Right now, the business model for childcare just isn't working. It's not sustainable for childcare workers, and parents can't afford it. And so we have to figure out a way to change that value equation, both for the parents, for our businesses that are losing the workforce because parents can't go back to work because of the cost of childcare, and to make it affordable for parents.
Teacher preparation is this unparalleled, amazing moment to really dig into the guts of the human condition, which teaching is, and work with a person to help them optimize their development.
Give a student a teacher who is inexperienced or teaching out of their area of certification for 2 years in a row, and you've doomed that student's educational career.
If we want to get young people to thrive, we have to focus on our ability to help the future teacher thrive.
The biggest obstacles we face in North Texas when it comes to education would be around recruiting training and retaining high quality teachers who can actually move the needle for kids in their classrooms.
It's almost a 24-hour job because when you get off, you're planning and you're constantly thinking about what else can I do to impact the lives of my students. If I could change anything about education in Texas right now, it would be funding. When we're pinching dollars and pinching pennies to pay the teachers, then we're not attracting the best resources in those classrooms in order to move our students through the educational continuum.
The fact that we don't compensate people who are caring for our most precious commodity in the most important years of their lives is really unconscionable.
We looked at the schools that were the most in need. They had been low performing for a number of years, and they had a very small percent of teachers scoring at the proficient level. And they also had other indicators as far as poverty or high teacher turnover. And so based on the data showing which schools needed the greatest support, we were able to identify teachers, recruit and retain high-performing teachers, and then within the first 2 years, we've had very strong results. And so specifically in early learning, we were able to double the number of students reading on grade level in kinder through second grade. Also on STAR test, 6 of the 7 initial schools met standard, and we've earned 13 distinctions from TEA, so things are going very well.
65% of all the new jobs in Dallas County require individuals have knowledge, skills, and ability that can only be learned in a post-secondary education setting. The Dallas Promise is really about making sure that individuals have the opportunity to attend college at no cost. It really is an investment into the lives of these students. We need to begin to understand that if we're not making those investments in our students, then that means we're not making investments in the workforce, we're not making investments in the economic viability, we're not making investments in improving the quality of life of our community. Everything goes back to that investment in education.
I'm excited about the Dallas County Promise because I look to places like Tennessee where there's been an extraordinary increase in college-going participation because of the Tennessee Promise. And I think we can replicate and outdo what they've done there, going from the 40% to, 73% of Tennessee high school kids are going to some kind of post-high school education. And I think it's a huge difference maker.
Well, funding is a critical piece of children getting a great education. And if you look at how much we spend per child in Texas compared to nationally, it's a shame. The day we can be as good a place for children as we are for business, we'll secure our future.
Funding plays a critical role in ensuring that every student has a quality education. Philanthropy plays such a powerful role in helping to spur and catalyze new ideas and new innovations that can really transform the quality of our education system.
If we could appropriately fund education all the way from birth, I think we could change the trajectory of our city in one generation.
We're the 9th largest economy in the world, and we really need to act like it, and we need to have an educated workforce.
We're not going to create opportunities for young people and for our country if we go about it using the same old solutions that we have in the past.
If I could talk to members of the legislature, I would really just ask them to really set aside easy answers and polarizing positions and look at the evidence, no matter where it sits geographically or politically, of what's working in those schools where children's lives are being changed.
This is not a child issue, it's not an education issue or a mental health issue. It's all that plus an economic issue, a moral issue. We have to be prepared to see that we are failing our youngest citizens, and that will come back and haunt us.
I don't feel like I'm any more gifted or special for any of the other kids. I just feel like I've been placed in situations and different environments that have allowed me to grow in different ways. One of the things that I've realized in my time at DISD is I'm not necessarily the expectation, I'm more so the exception.
President Mandela of South Africa was exactly right when he said that education is the most powerful tool that we can use if we want to change the world.
If you want to be concerned about education, if you pretend to be concerned about education, get up off of your couch and engage. Meet the problem where it exists.
This is not a spectator sport. You have to get involved if you're going to make a difference in education.
I don't want you to just feel good about putting money into education. I want you to make certain that the monies that you're putting in education are wisely spent. I don't want you to say that you know best for what's going on in a particular community without yourself going into that community, talking to people, and finding out how they feel and what they think should be done in order to change the trajectory of the educational achievement within that community.
What's been really thrilling about my current job as president of UNT Dallas is the proximity I have to really important issues. Intergenerational poverty on a massive scale. Kids coming from really poor, disadvantaged households who are making it happen. They are very courageous and they're making it happen. They need help though. And I feel like if you're gonna change the narrative, you've got to get close to it. And you can't get pessimistic about it, and you got to work really hard.